Yo, what's good? As of recording this, Blox has recently received a new update. I played the game a really long time ago, maybe a year and a half ago or so, but it was on a different account of mine. So instead of taking 2 minutes out of my day to switch accounts every time I play, I'm gonna get to max level on this account. I wanted to see how long it would take me, or a speedrun per se. I'm probably gonna take a very long time though, so this is gonna be a 3-part series, with this being the first one obviously. In this video, my goal is to finish the first sea. For reference, that's around level 700, I'm pretty sure. To not make the process too easy though, I'm gonna be following some rules. The first rule being no voluntary help from any friends. I can't ask friends to care me of bosses, grinding, obviously cannot give me an OP fruit. Number 2, speaking of fruits, absolutely no trading. I can only get a fruit from buying one or finding it in the wild. And the third rule, absolutely no spending Robux. It's a complete free-to-play run. I'm broke and I'm not going to be spending a single dime on this game. But with that being said, let's see how long it takes me. Alright, to start off the run, I had problems with OBS and lost the first minute and a half of footage, so great start. First thing I did after spawning was grinding bandits, obviously, and I started saving up money so I can buy my first sword, a katana. By the way, yes, I'm going to be hard sword at this run because I don't have any guarantee of getting a good fruit anytime soon, and I don't know how good melee is, so sword's the safest option. I haven't played the game in a while, so I don't really remember what meta is anymore, but it'll be fine. But damn, they've seriously improved the effects of this game. The attacks look cleaner, the dash is cooler. Did even the enemy respawn sound is dope? Listen to this. I didn't stay in the first island for too long, and by nearly 6 minutes, I was off to the monkey island. Currently, I'm level 10, so I'm going to do the first killing monkeys quest, but it's really inefficient to be honest. The best way to speedrun this game is to farm enemies and their corresponding quests as efficient as possible, but these monkeys suck, man. It gives poop XP, and the monkeys are way too spaced out, so it was really awkward and annoying. But I got through it really quick. After only 2 minutes, I could already do the gorilla quest. Now, the gorillas aren't very perfect either since they're far from the quest giver, but they give much more XP, and since they spawn close to each other, it made up for it. I decided to not do the Gorilla King boss since it was too hard for me and it gave little XP.
And you just asked, bitch. Ain't no one care though.
It's kind of sad saying the first boss in the game is too hard, but at this time in the game, it just wasn't worth doing it. After 12 minutes of slaying gorillas, I was level 30 and able to go to the next location, the pirates. Now, Pirate Island slaps. All the enemies are close together and they're really close to the quest giver. I decided to use the 2x XP code since this is one of the most efficient places I was going to be in the first sea. After a little bit, I was able to buy the dual katana and got back to grinding. I mean, dude, look how efficient this grindage is. It's beautiful. I decided to not do the quest for the brutes since they were much farther from the quest giver and more spaced apart in general, so honestly, not worth. The 2x XP code only lasted 20 minutes, but it was enough time for me to get to level 65 and head out to the next island, the desert. The desert was also really good for grinding, but I didn't want to use an XP code since I just used one. The bandits made me realize how little I've upgraded my defense, so I started spacing out my stats a bit and just going full sword. Nothing too eventful happened while I was here, except I was able to save up enough money to buy my first ever fruit. It cost $100,000 and it was the smoke logia. Now, I don't know if this fruit is any good, so I will not be using it at all, but I did get it because it's a logia, which makes early game grinding so much easier. I mean, look at this, bro. We're chilling for a bit. After a while, I hit my first hour, and after 1 hour of grinding, I got my first fruit, and I'm level 77. Considering there's 630 more levels to go, I'm not liking this pace, but oh well. The best of the desert was uneventful, so let's fast forward a bit. I got to the next island, the Winter Island, but I lost a recording of me arriving, so my fault. When I got there, I talked to some homeless guy who teach me some pretty cool shit. I learned flash step, which allowed me to teleport in front of me a medium distance. I learned, I'm pretty sure it's called sky jump. It allowed me to do double and triple jumps and so on. And most importantly, I learned Armored hotkey. I can finally start working on it. The winter place is pretty good. The enemies were spawning pretty close to each other, and they even spawned in mobs of 4 or 5, and were close to the quest giver, so pretty good. While I was here, I bought the triple katana, which is a pretty big upgrade from the dual, which is nice. And after a bit more grinding, I was off to the next area, Marineford. Marineford was also pretty nice, with the minions spawning in groups of 4 and being close to the quest giver. And also for once, Marineford had a really good boss. It gave good XP, close to the quest giver, and not that hard to kill. I remember from my last playthrough that the boss dropped an equivalent item, so I tried to grind it the most that I could. But after killing him a few times, I was scared I remembered incorrectly, so I looked in the wiki real quick to make sure I was right. And I did end up being right, but I also learned there was an even a better item that was easier to get. So supposedly there's this thing called the Black Cape, which only costs 50,000 doubloons, and is better than the cape that you need from grinding a boss. I didn't believe it, but when I went to the spot, boom, there is an NPC there and he sold me it, so hey. It's a pretty good bonus. It gives me more stamina and HP, which are two things I was really lacking in. Marineford didn't last too long though, and after a while I headed off to the next area, the beginning of Skypiea. Sadly, the streak of good islands has run out. Early Skypiea is trash. Even though the minions spawn in a group of 4, they are so far from the quest giver. Like, they are vertically so far away from him. But luckily, I was able to find some tech where if I kill myself after completing each quest, I'll spawn right next to him, which sped the process up a lot. While I was here, I also found an NPC that sells the Bicento. I don't know how good it is, but considering it's $1 million, I'ma assume it's good and I'ma save up for it. The second enemies in Skypiea were much better since they were closer to the quest giver and spawned in groups of 4. However, once I hit level 175, I realized a problem has finally begun. See, every enemy before level 175 was never able to hit me because I had a Logia. But now the game requires me to be an even higher level than my enemy for my Logia to take effect. For example, at level 175, these enemies can hit me because they're also level 175. But once I get 2 levels above them, they can no longer hit me and my Logia takes effect. Luckily, right now I only have to gap them by 2 levels, but it's gonna get much worse later on. I have to gap them by 5 or 10 or however many levels. So that's kind of concerning, but oh well. Besides that small tangent, early Skypiea went by quick and I went on to the next location, the prison. Now the prison was pretty alright. The enemies are fairly cramped and close to each other. Plus, the prison has 3 bosses you can farm with fairly low cooldowns, which makes it really good if you're farming it alone. While I was in the middle of farming in the prison, I remembered most Logias usually have an ability that lets them fly. So I leveled up my Devil Fruit to test it out, and to my surprise, my Smoke Logia can give me flight. It's not very fast, but being able to fly is convenient. It also drops bombs below me while I fly, which allowed me to come up with a much funner way of aggroing enemies when I'm grinding them. But anyways, after 40 minutes of grinding in the prison, I was off to the next island, the Colosseum. The Colosseum was pretty nice. The enemies were spaced awkwardly, but it gave pretty good XP. The first set of enemies gave 1.1 million XP when I only needed around like 600,000 to level up. Pretty cracked. The second set of enemies only gave 200,000 more XP and were spaced out way worse, so I didn't really do that much. Thanks to the Colosseum's goated XP though, I went from level 260 to 300 in just a bit over 30 minutes. I head out to the next area, the volcano. But when I got there, I realized I had 1,000,000 doubloons, so I went really quickly to buy the Bicento. Bicento? Is it Bicento? I think it's Bicento, but it could be Bicento. My fault. The volcano was pretty lame. The first set of enemies had hockey, so my Logia didn't even work. They also spawned awkwardly in chunks of 3 or 2, which kinda sucked. But luckily my Bicento was doing hella damage, which made the process a lot funner. Sadly, the second wave of enemies wasn't much better. Not enough of them spawned, and they were pretty far from the quest giver, so I just stuck to the first group. The game started getting pretty slow around this point. I was missing the chill easy days of Pirate Island. Luckily, I powered through the volcano in about an hour and headed out to the Fisherman area. The Fisherman place was a bit better. The first wave of enemies were pretty close together and gave decent XP. Sadly, once again, the second wave of enemies was pretty ass. They gave slightly more XP but were so much further away and took longer to kill, it wasn't even worth it. The boss was alright. It took a good minute to kill, but it gave good XP. In about another hour, I finished Fisherman Island. But then, the game heard my cries of help and blessed me with Skypiea. Skypiea was so goated! Infinitely much better than everything before. The first wave of enemies was already pretty good. They spawned close together and a shit ton of them spawned too. I was done with them pretty quickly and entered the higher part of Skypiea, and I realized it's time to learn observation hockey. I went to my homie Usopp though, and he said I wasn't ready. I had my friend search up what I had to do to get observation hockey, and he told me I had to get Saber. So I did a bunch of random back and forth bullshit and I locked the Shanks boss. I killed him really quick and I unlocked the Saber. It had less base damage than my Bicento by quite a bit, so I kept the Bicento. I don't know which of them is better, and I don't have a Bicento V2 yet, so maybe Saber's better, but I'm too lazy to switch. I went back to Usopp and got Observation Hockey. I forgot how shit Observation Hockey is when you first get it though. Like, I have to get so close to see an enemy, and I only have 2 dodges obviously, so I'll have to work on that. Anyways, back to grinding. The second set of enemies was so cracked. So much XP, so many spawning, and they're hella close to the quest giver. And the boss is like 6 feet away, so I can just get him whenever he respawns. I decided it was time for another XP code, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. In the 20 minutes I had the double XP code, I went from level 476 to 549. 73 levels in 20 minutes. For reference, it took me about an hour to get that in the volcano. The rest of Skypiea went smoothly and took about an hour to finish, and I was at my final stop, Water 7. I forgot to mention this, but I bought a magma fruit halfway through thinking it would be better, and it was so ass. So on the way to Water 7, I quickly got the flame fruit since at least that one had flight. Anyways, Water 7 was meh. The XP was good, and while the minions did spawn in groups of 4, the terrain was so awkward that it was really annoying to move around. By the way, I'm at a point where I have to gap the enemy by like over 10 levels for my Logia to take effect, so that's pretty lame. Water 7 also had really shitty second enemies, so I just stuck to the first ones. I was seriously trying my best to be efficient because I was so close to getting to the second seat in just under 10 hours. And then it happened. At 9 hours, 26 minutes, and 50 seconds, I hit level 700. But then I had to fly to the prison, and then I had to fly to the winter place and kill a boss, and fly back to the prison, and then fly to the middle of town. But at 9 hours and 34 minutes and 49 seconds, I got to the second sea. Alright, so that wraps up what I'm going to be doing for this video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the whole thing. It really does mean a lot. For a channel of my size, just watching the whole video or liking and subscribing makes a really big difference, so I appreciate it. I'll try to get the second part out relatively soon. Um, I don't know how soon that'll be. These videos do take a while to make. It was 10 hours of gameplay plus probably another like 8 hours of cutting the footage. But whatever. But anyways, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. See ya.